If you're asking where the Mongol Empire hid a lost city of gold in the Gobi, the most believable answer is simple. It wasn't a secret golden metropolis built to vanish. It was a real desert fortress city, later swallowed by sand, now known as Khara-Khoto. The gold was not a single glittering hoard. It was wealth moving through a choke point: coin, tribute, silk, and supplies. In the next minutes, we'll pin down three things: why this place got rich, how it could disappear, and why the treasure stories refuse to die. By the end, you'll know exactly what was hidden and what never existed. We know Khara-Khoto was a real walled city in the Gobi region. Its ruins still stand in the desert, tied to Silk Road traffic and oasis geography. We also know it was rediscovered by a Russian expedition in the early 1900s, with excavations tied to Pyotr Kozlov's work in 1908-1909. What's debated is the ending. Some accounts emphasize warfare and political shifts. Others stress a fatal break in the city's water supply, which matters more in a desert than any army. And then there's what people legendized. A popular story says the city's river was diverted and treasure was left behind as the walls went quiet. We can't fully verify those dramatic details, but the mood makes sense. An empty fortress invites a treasure ending. Here's the core point in one line. The Mongols didn't hide a gold city so much as they benefited from a city that hid itself. In the Gobi, distance is a weapon. Water is a boundary line. If a settlement sits on the right river course, it becomes a lock on the desert door. Khara-Khoto fits that logic. It stood near the Aegean River system, a rare lifeline that could support fields, animals, and passing caravans. So what does City of Gold really mean in this setting? It means a place where caravans had to slow down, where guards could count loads and charge fees, where merchants could rest, repair, and trade under protection. Under the Mongol Empire, long routes became more predictable in many regions. That reliability made certain hubs richer, not because they minted miracles, but because they handled volume. Now picture the wealth itself, not shining piles in a vaulted chamber. Think coin pouches, stamped documents, and sealed bundles. Think bolts of cloth, spices, metalwork, and tribute goods. Portable value is the key. If trouble comes, portable value leaves first. That one detail explains why so many treasure cities feel empty today. So why does Khara-Khoto still pull the gold question toward it? Because it truly was lost to sight. Not in jungle vines, but under wind and sand. Desert ruins can vanish without collapsing. A wall can stand for centuries, while dunes move like tides. The city becomes a rumor with a skyline. And once a place becomes a rumor, the story changes shape. A tax depot becomes a gold city. A vanished caravan chest becomes a royal hoard. The mind fills the silence with metal. Stay with me, because the next step is the key. If we want the hiding place, we have to follow the system that created the wealth. A desert city survives by controlling three flows: water, movement, and information. Water is obvious. Wells and channels are not just utilities. They are survival contracts with the landscape. Movement is the Silk Road's heartbeat. Caravans don't wander at random. They hop between reliable water, fodder, and protection. Information is the quietest flow. Which pass is safe? Which local lord is stable? Which season won't kill your camels? A fortified city like Khara-Khoto could sit at the center of those flows. Walls don't just defend people. They defend stored grain and predictable exchange. This is how wealth hides in the Gobi. Not by being buried, but by being concentrated. When you force movement through a narrow corridor, value stacks up. Fees accumulate. Warehouses fill and empty. The city becomes a counting house with a skyline. Under Mongol rule, the empire's reach made distance feel shorter. Messengers could cross enormous spaces. Orders could arrive faster than rumors. That kind of control changes merchant behavior. A trader takes bigger risks when roads feel safer. Bigger risks mean bigger loads. Bigger loads mean bigger tolls. But every advantage has a trade-off. A desert hub is powerful and fragile. It depends on continuity. If politics shift, caravans reroute. If water falters, nothing else matters. If protection becomes uncertain, merchants stop coming. So the mechanism is also the weakness. A gold city is richest right before it breaks, because it has something to lose. Now that you know the method, here's why it mattered. If the lifeline fails, the city doesn't just shrink. It stops being a city at all. And that takes us into the sequence. Not a mythic curse, but a chain of causes. Imagine the city at dusk, at its peak. A low sun, dust in the air, and a line of camels. Gate guards listen before they look. Inside the walls, you don't hear a marketplace roar. You hear controlled movement. Footsteps, rope creaks, and the soft strike of wooden seals. A caravan leader presents papers. A clerk checks marks, weights, and permissions. The city's wealth is this moment of inspection. In the courtyards, goods are staged. Some are traded locally. Some are stored for the next leg. Some are tribute, moving under official protection. Then the first change arrives. It's not dramatic. It's a delay. A caravan comes late. Another doesn't come at all. At the wells, the water tastes a little different. This is how a desert disaster starts. Not with an explosion, but with a small inconsistency. At the city edge, farmers and herders argue over channels. You can picture the hands, the reeds, and the mud. Water becomes a political object. Later accounts suggest the city's water access was disrupted, sometimes described as diversion of the Aegean River flow. The broad idea, water cut, city weakened, fits desert reality, even if the exact story varies by retelling. As the supply tightens, decisions harden. Do you ration grain now or later? Do you send riders out or keep them close? Walls that once felt like safety begin to feel like a container. The same gates that controlled trade now control escape. If violence enters the story, it does so after weakening. A strong oasis city can negotiate. A thirsty one cannot. And then comes the most silent enemy: wind. When a place loses people, maintenance stops. Roofs fail first. Then doors. Then the small repairs that keep sand out. The desert doesn't need to break the walls. It just needs time. Dunes move, settle, and rise again. Eventually, travelers pass at a distance. They see shapes, then nothing. The city turns into a direction, not a destination. That's the pivot point. Once a city becomes hard to reach, its story becomes easy to change. Here's the part most retellings skip. Khara-Khoto's Mongol identity can overshadow its deeper timeline. The city is often linked to the Western Xia era in origin, then later drawn into the Mongol sphere. That matters because it reframes the mystery. The Mongols didn't necessarily build the city to hide treasure. They inherited a working desert node and used it. This is how empires really make money. They don't always create new machines. They take control of existing ones. So when people ask, where did the Mongols hide gold? A more accurate question is quieter. Where did the Mongols allow wealth to accumulate? A remote fortress on a river line is one answer. Not because it is magical, but because it is structural. Another layer is language. When stories say gold, they may mean wealth. And wealth might mean a tax system, not a chest. A third layer is human expectation. When an abandoned city is found, the first thought is loot. If loot is not visible, imagination supplies it. That's why treasure legends stick so well to desert ruins. The city looks like it should contain something. It contained time instead. And the rediscovery story amplifies that feeling. Kozlov's expedition became famous for excavations at Khara-Khoto in 1908-1909. To the public, that sounds like a vault being opened in the sand. But archaeology is usually paper, fragments, and context. Not a single glittering reveal. The gold is the fact the city existed at all. One more twist. The Mongol world had other famous cities like Shangdu, known in the West as Xanadu. Those ruins are real too, and well documented, but they are not a lost Gobi gold city in the same way. Mentioning Shangdu helps because it shows a pattern. Real Mongol cities can become mythical in the telling. So when you hear Lost City of Gold, treat it as a compass, not a label. It points toward a real place where wealth once passed. It does not guarantee a buried treasure room. When Khara-Khoto failed, the impact was practical. A node dropped out of the network. Caravans adapted or disappeared. Trade shifted toward routes that still had water and protection. Local agriculture, if it depended on steady flow, would have suffered quickly. Over time, the ruin became a landmark of absence. A reminder that desert cities are agreements with nature. And agreements can end overnight. Most of all, the story changed the map in people's minds. A functioning hub became a warning. Then a legend. Then a question with the word gold in it. So where did the Mongol Empire hide a lost city of gold in the Gobi? In plain sight, at the edge of survival. A walled oasis city could hold wealth for a season, then lose it in a week. Then it loses itself for centuries. If you remember one thing, let it be this. The Gobi doesn't need to conceal treasure. It can conceal a whole city just by waiting. And if that idea stays with you, there's another Mongol mystery that feels even quieter. Not a city, but a location, kept secret by design, not by sand. Genghis Khan, also spelled Chinggis Khan, was buried somewhere, and the exact place still isn't known.